What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Game Dev Unchained, the #1 game development podcast, according to ChatGPT and the lifestyle thereof. I am your host, Brandon Pham, and with me, Ray Graham. How you doing, Ray?
What's happening? What's going on?
What's up, Ray? So it's been a while. You see Ray, you kind of know the drill for faithful listeners out there. For new listeners, this is a roundtable news episode where game developers give their opinions on the happenings of the game dev world, and just giving our opinions and hopefully helping others out there how to navigate through this industry safely and soundly. All right. So a lot has happened. Right. And I do want to cover one of our main topics for those who are reading the title about Redfall. All right. I don't want to jump on this hate train. Right. But it does highlight a recurring problem for game developers out there. What happened? Right. So let me kind of give a synopsis, and I'm going to throw it over to you, Ray, and I want you to know your thoughts, because I feel like you've been through every part of these type of production, right? All the way from pre-pro to post-release, being in the industry for so long. Redfall was a game by Arkane Studios, right? Release in March, late February. Got delayed a few times, right? Probably should have gotten delayed more, but published by Xbox. It was so bad, like it almost felt like a Bethesda game, where it just got murdered. And I didn't remember it being that any game having that bad of a press. I mean, it was trending on Twitter, next to the Ukraine war. I was like, what is going on? And basically, from critical reception to fan base, that are Arkane faithfuls got completely turned off from the game, and the whole experience just felt cheated. And it was one of those rare $70 games that was not $60 anymore. And that all that kind of got thrown into the mix of hate and disgust. So to kind of walk me through your day. I know you're not. I mean, honestly, we probably have a lot of friends that are Arkane. There's a lot of shared bloodlines with BioShock teams and Arkane people, designer heavy type of games, right? There's a lot of familiar people, I think, that we've crossed path with. So what are your thoughts, man? When you hear things like this, I mean, obviously, what are your feelings?
I don't know why this one got blown so out of proportion compared to all the other games that come out and have bad reviews or whatever. Like, I think this was a little blown out of proportion for sure. I don't know. I didn't even play the game, right? So I have no idea. And I remember seeing the trailer of it. I was like, yeah, it looks all right. It looks cool, I guess. But I like every game that Arkane makes usually. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I just never really tried out Redfall at all, right? Yeah. And so like I don't really understand. Like, I've heard
vampires.
There's PC performance issues, and I'm like, that's happened to a ton of games before in the past, right? So I don't really know why the reaction was so outsized for this one. Like, like it doesn't seem more egregious than any other game that came out and people didn't like. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't an EA game, right? So I don't know. I was very surprised, but as I kind of was digging into it, just typical stuff. Yeah, the glitches, the bugs. It was unfinished. Literally, animation would just not be in play, and you just have this vampire floating around even after a shot. Yeah, it's stuff like that. But I think because the tolerance level from gamers are.
No.
You don't think so? There's
no.
From the reaction, Joe, I just feel like people don't
I think
have the patience for it anymore.
No, I think there's a little bit of the console war nonsense in the mix of it too.
You think Sony's hyping it up?
Where not Sony's hyping it up, but like where the Xbox folks want a good game.
Oh yeah,
right?
It's been a drought. Yeah.
I was watching something else and somebody made a point where they were like, if this came out next year, right, amongst a bunch of other games for Microsoft that came out before it, like say Starfield comes out before or something else comes out before, and then this comes out, maybe people are not reacting so harshly.
Yeah.
I think people are just thirsty for an Xbox hit. And then this came out, Xbox, published, and it didn't meet whatever those expectations were.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of what the situation was.
Yeah.
At least that's a possible answer. You know what I mean? And then the whole, like you mentioned, $70. I mean, it's on Game Pass, man. So, like, don't complain about how expensive the game is. It's on Game Pass too, right? So if you wanted to try it out, you could easily tried it out and then bought it if you liked it. You know what I mean? So like, I don't even want to hear about no $70 game. Games are expensive. They're getting bigger and bigger. The needs, the standards of the audience is getting higher and higher. You know what I mean? It costs real money. Yeah.
Well, judging by everyone's reaction, it sounds like it's a hard pass. All right. And I think it does have a lot to do with, the Microsoft community have been bloodthirsty, right? Mm-hmm. And this game kind of came out pretty fangless, right? There was just not a lot of people. Vampire games on its own. Terrible, bro. But it's just rolling, just giving me material right now. But like a vampire game on its own have always been a problem for games, right? It's just not the same as zombies. There's not a lot of vampire games that really became hits for whatever reason. I mean, after the zombie phase, I know even Hollywood and other entertainment was trying to find the next big thing, and you had what was that teenager with Twilight, right? They were trying to shift towards Twilight. They was trying to shift to werewolves.
What do you mean trying to? Twilight's huge. What are you talking about?
It's huge for a minute, right? But it never really transferred for games. Games never really had the hit vampire game, except for if it's like maybe mixed with Western or something, Western games. Yeah. But like there was a byproduct of it, aside from the fan aspect of like, this game sucks, it's buggy, we've been waiting forever for Microsoft to release a game, and Sony's just having a party every night, right, with their hits. The developer standpoint is like, I was frustrated with this viewpoint of how the publisher was all in the bad. Even Phil Spencer came out. I was like, dude, I'm sorry, man, but like, we bought Bethesda, right, which owns Arkane, or ZeniMax, which owns Arkane. They're all the same, right?
It's ZeniMax with ZeniMax.
So confusing. But he was like, we don't 100% control like everybody, right? And we still kind of trust our developers. And
in that same interview, I think he even said, though, maybe we shouldn't trust our developers.
Yeah, which is terrible for the ones that are actually doing well, but like having too much freedom obviously turned out to be very bad. Well, a very bad week for Microsoft. Yeah,
I mean, you could have freedom, right? But then you also have to like
with boundaries,
look at things objectively and be like, yeah, no, we need to give you more time, or yeah, no, the quality needs to be this, or yeah, we need to scale back on scope. Yeah. Right. Like you can't just let them do whatever. Right. Because you're giving them money to make something.
Well, here's the developer standpoint, because this is where your years of experience, you've been in these rooms, right? Before, just when the idea was hatched, before execution, you just looking at the producer's strategy to kind of get this done. And you're like, this is bogus. It's stupid. Right. The gamers are not there with us. When it comes to this, they just automatically think the big bad corporations are pushing these poor little game developers into deadlines that they never really agreed to, right? But the truth is, there's a lot of dead time while figuring these things out. And the creatives, the ones that actually have a say in things, really shoot themselves in the foot. And very much that we want to blame the guy with the money who's giving this opportunity to them. Like, I always kind of go back to, yo, it's just not the right people making the calls. And because of these dead periods, they try to make the game the last year. And before, sometimes that worked, but nowadays, like you said before, budgets are higher. There are less risk available to take. And there's a lot of, like, because the budget's so much higher, there's a lot of dependencies that has to work, right? There's a lot of pressure, right?
This isn't some fly by night company we're talking about. You know what I mean?
It's Arkane, yeah.
It's Arkane, right? Like, they make good games, period, right?
Well,
so, they do, right? Well, they do, and it could be, you know, was it a different team within Arkane, right? That was, you know, are they making?
Oh yeah.
Was it a different team? Like, there's all sorts of different things that could have gone into it. But then, but at the end of the day, right, it was just something that probably should have been, it's been delayed, and then they probably just didn't want to delay it again, right? And we're like, oh yeah, this is good, you know. Like, you know, the industry, we're big on the whole day one patch,
bugging, patching,
and subsequent patches, you know, while the game's out, you know, and to make it better over time. You know, we're all about that, right? So it's about making those choices.
It's less forgivable now. I do feel like with this reception, that liberty to be able to kind of keep patching things needs to be more careful now.
Well, let's see how much leeway they give Starfield. Let's just put it that way. Right.
Yeah, Starfield's gonna be, because if you failures to launch, dude.
If you think Starfield's gonna come out and be perfect game and require no patches,
it's the most ambitious game ever. I mean, isn't it like Star Citizen, but actually coming out? That's the idea of it.
I don't even know if it's like Star Citizen was probably all sorts of nonsense, right? But like, you know, especially Bethesda, right? Like their games come out pretty rough, like out day one. And so, like, I'm pretty sure because it's Bethesda and the fan base and all that, if folks are going to overlook a lot of the issues, you know what I mean?
Well, the game design has to be pretty solid, yeah.
As they always do. So
that's what I felt until this. I mean, Redfall is a failure.
Bethesda gets a pass, man. Like, Skyrim came out garbage.
I'll be surprised. Yes,
you know, Fallout 76. Right. Like, I mean, they get a lot of pass, you know, and so I think Starfield is going to get the same. I'm calling it for now. That's just my prediction. Right. It ain't gonna be no Redfall situation, I don't think.
Whew. I don't know, man. I think something changed. Something went in the water as soon as Microsoft bought Bethesda. There's like a higher standard now, it feels. Because this is probably the first game that Microsoft that has shipped under Microsoft's brand, right? The Redfall.
Mm-hmm.
And the drought is continuing. Like, I don't know what's the is it really Starfield?
Starfield.
Which is this year. It's at the end of year.
Yeah.
But even Phil Spencer, dude, yo, if you look at his little announcement, that dude has been, you know, looking at the demos, and he's like, yo, Starfield is not gonna say whatever this is.
No. He was saying something different than that, right?
Okay.
And I actually agreed with what he was saying, because I was talking about this the other day.
Yeah.
He was saying that the folks have chosen their console, right?
Yeah. For the console war,
yeah. And Microsoft has lost.
Yeah.
Right. Like, he said that. And he said that, but they are not in that war. They're trying to bring games to people on many different platforms with Game Pass. Game Pass is their thing, right? And they're pushing hard on Game Pass. And so he's like, if Starfield comes out and is the perfect game ever, right, there's going to be no one on earth, right? Or he doesn't feel it's going to be a vast majority of people that would be like, screw this PlayStation, let me go get an Xbox because Starfield's dope. Like, no one's going to do that. And I agree. Like, I don't think that's good. I don't think it's like that's going to happen, especially if you have a PlayStation with, you know, Horizon Zero Dawn and Spider-Man and God of War and you're playing your games, and you have he also mentioned something about, like, you know, this is the worst generation because this was a generation when people moved to digital, right? So everybody has their digital library in the ecosystem that does not go with them, right?
Yeah.
And so like there's no game that's going to come out to make you go, oh yeah, forget the last 5 years, 6 years of PlayStation 5 and let me. It's not even been that long. How long has it been? 3 years, 4 years, right?
2020,
and,
yeah.
Yeah, and then I'm gonna just drop PlayStation because Starfield's good. Like that's just not, that's wishful thinking. That's not gonna happen.
He looked pretty defeated in that thing, dude. It looks like he's about to get fired. Or like he's like, yo, this is my last year. I don't know why I'm here. Because it was like, yeah, like Kind of Funny is a good podcast, but was that the place to announce these things? It's like it just
I don't.
It was very casual,
but he was but he was just being like honest, and I don't
too
see
honest.
anything. I don't see anything wrong with that, right? Because I think we've seen the writing on the wall
press conference
for a while that Microsoft was not competing at the console level. Like Game Pass obviously is them not
is the future.
Yeah. It's like, I mean, it's not news, right? Like, but everybody's acting as if it's news, right?
Well, it made a lot of news. It was like saying. 2 weeks straight.
No, but it was it's like why are we acting all surprised? Like this seems very logical, you know.
It just made a lot of sense that Activision Blizzard deal was so important to them. It felt like their last leaf of opportunity. They have to have that.
Right? Got approved in UK at least, right? Or
European Union. UK's outside of that, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what that deal is, but it sounds like eventually it'll turn towards to their favor. But yeah, the Redfall story, more than just the game, I felt there was like a turn in tolerance from gamers, because I'm with you, man. Like, what was that Iron Man game from EA that had pretty bad press? That was like a Destiny clone. Anthem had a really bad, and that was made by Mass Effect people, right? From BioWare. Same kind of sentiment. You know, there's a lot of high expectations. This is their follow-up from a pretty successful team, and it just flopped pretty hard, right? And to a lot of respect to that, I think the team is no more, to be honest. Like, they got disassembled pretty badly. And whoever was left, basically, now you're Mass Effect forever. You know, to work on the next one. We gave you a chance.
Yeah, I mean,
you flushed it down the toilet.
Yeah, that happens, right? So I was hyped for Anthem when they first announced it. I was like, oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah, I mean, the bells and whistles were there, but no substance. So I just want to be at a point where there's accountability from all fronts. You know, obviously, yes, the publishers, whoever financed the money, they have a say into it, but it always goes back to the developers. It's like, yo, you know what you're doing, you know, every day, you know, what you're putting out there in the world, you know, you got planned it.
You've worked on bad games.
Yeah. And I blame all you.
And you know, and you know what that's like. And you know,
it's torturous. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, like how hard it is to turn the ship around because the ship is going. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you may try to do some stuff to make it better in some ways, right? But like, you know, game's gonna come out and be trash. You know it. It's
unfortunate that the only way that we see who's right for the job is actually by trial of fire. There really is no way of knowing, does this guy know his shit, you know?
It's not just one person though, right? It's
a band of
team. It's about
misfits.
Like, how everybody works together, right? It's like it's about a bunch of different things, you know, and sometimes you're like, it's not very good, but like, maybe we add one more thing if we make it look just a little bit better, you know? And, you know, and then also on top of it, I don't even know if Redfall's a bad game or not.
It's bad.
You know what I mean?
It's terrible.
I have no idea. Right?
I watched some gameplays. I had to press stop. It was so bad the YouTube video froze and bugged out.
No, I have no idea. Right. I just know that you know, people complain about the bugs and the glitches and stuff like that. But that's like, again, this just all sounds like just yet another video game that probably just needed a little bit more time, you know? and just didn't have it, because the stuff costs money, and they have to get it out, and I'll patch it later, because that's kind of the thing now, right? So
Yeah, I think before it was fine because it was a lower budget. Not saying that it was cheaper to a great extent, but it was costly always. I do feel like there are less and lesser chances of doing that as much. Like, I feel like publishers are a little smarter of what games are and the process of it. Gamers are a little bit more pushy, and if anything, they're the more forgiving. Oh yeah, just keep delaying it until it's ready. It's like, yo, every day costs millions, right? So you don't understand the business.
Gamers want a good game though, right? So they're like, hey, you want to delay it? Fine, I want a good game.
Yeah,
I'm disappointed, sure, but I want a good game.
Gamers are a lot more forgiving, but it is definitely the person paying the bills that are the most concerned, and they should be. It's like, they're paying the bills. Yeah.
What time is it?
Yeah, like I'm half, right? I mean, like at a certain point, it's like, yo. I mean, I guess there is really no solution to the last hour. Do you completely like drain the swamp, or?
Well, still,
what do you do?
A lot of the really good games that you know of, like,
had delays,
delays, and had like infinite money where they could just noodle around forever, and then they find the game.
Yeah, Rockstar. The Respawn guys have definitely a solid group. Blizzard at one point.
Yeah.
I keep saying this, but Riot's kind of becoming the new Blizzard right now. They're having a renaissance moment. It seems like everything they're making is becoming hits, but like it always ties to like a group that have worked together before, shipped, had those trials by fire, stayed together, and basically proved themselves over and over again. And I think that is becoming more and more rare, man. Like with everything that's going on with the industry, people moving around, maybe remote help repair some of that, because now they can connect still to old colleagues without having to be in the same city, right? So I'm curious about the next 2-3 years. Well, I mean, like, think about it. The reason why most people move away is because of family or just hometown, like because of location. If it's a good team. Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying that you can't make video games remotely, right? But when you talk about teams that have chemistry and work together.
You got to be in office for sure.
Like some sort of locality has to happen sometimes in that, you know what I mean? So I don't know if remote is conducive to that. You know what I mean?
I mean, that's a good point. Like, I think a lot of studies are trying to show that remote is not working for like large creative teams, right? I think just for many things that we talked about, the mentoring from older to younger, the camaraderie of just sitting next to a bud and brainstorming really quickly. I think people are finally coming to grips like this is irreplaceable. And there are problems obviously with remote. I
still think you just need to focus on those moments, right? Pick when you're going to have those moments of collaboration.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, like, programmers still need to be left alone, right?
Yeah.
To
bulk time of the hours. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So having remote is good in some cases, right? But then it's just you have to work differently and work hard at like collaborating, brainstorming, coming together.
Yeah.
Use the online tools to do all that kind of stuff. Yes. But then also make sure that you do come together face to face to form those bonds, because those bonds actually exist. Once you form them in person, they do exist over remote. You know what I mean? But you have to form them first.
It's like I don't know. It's like the oxygen mask. You know, you take every time you get together, it gives sustaining life and partnership in the remote session.
Yeah.
That's why I think a lot of offices are kind of having people live around the office just so that they can commune once in a while. But yeah, like you said, like I can't imagine from what I'm hearing, like those remote colleagues that you just don't have the connection and you form those lifelong friends as much. It's literally when you do meet on Zoom, which is laborious, you just want to talk about work. You don't want to talk about catching up on life and stuff, right? Those small moments that just are such a big concrete part of working.
Well, you just have to work at it. That's it.
Yeah, I don't want
to. That's your loss.
Like, dude, it's just difficult, man. Like you said, the cool thing about remote is that this very solitude focus way of getting work done, right? Mm-hmm. And then what the adverse effect of that is when you do go and meet, it feels like a bother. It feels like I'm pulling away from getting work done, right? Even though you're trying to accomplish things together as a group, brainstorming, I think everyone kind of feels that meetings are a drag when you're working remote, right? And it's like, yo, let's just try to get this finished as quickly as possible so I can get to the real work, right? And get things done. Yeah.
That sounds like your brainstorming session is garbage, but yeah.
I love brainstorming, right? But I'm thinking, if most of your time is being seclusive, you're just naturally, I don't know, as an introvert, I feel drawn to being more closed off.
I think that's more just introvert, period, right? Versus extrovert, right? But like,
I'm an introvert with a podcast. I can't be that introverted, but I feel this way.
Yeah.
But speaking of that, I feel, man, we haven't done a roundtable for a while, and Zuckerberg, this is how he gets his updates to do, to do what's next with his company. Since we talked, and I have to kind of at least speak to this, massive layoffs, a focus on efficiency year, right? That's what 2023 he marked it as. The metaverse sounds like it's dead. There's starting a reduction of that team. Like, I have friends there, you have friends there. They're starting to look elsewhere. And because of ChatGPT, there's a huge, for the whole Silicon Valley, focus on AI and AI product. That's the next web, right? That everyone's kind of shifting gears and really going hard in the paint for. What are your thoughts?
The tech industry's out of ideas.
Yeah. They're just biting.
I think, okay, don't get me wrong. ChatGPT is a thing, Midjourney is a thing. These things are impressive. I think they have some utility. Especially if you look at like Midjourney and texture generation, and then there's now things that are like trying to do 3D mesh.
It's gold rush right now.
Yeah. The 3D mesh generation, just like type in, I want a couch, and then there's a 3D mesh as a couch, right? Like, there's some cool stuff, right? Folks that I know that have been in the AI space for a long, long, long time, and that like immerse themselves in it for years and years and years. They're all like, meh, right? They're generally all like very apathetic and just like, yeah, it's cool, but it's iterative improvement on stuff. We don't know if that's the right direction.
Yeah,
like, we don't care. Like, maybe there should be a different direction, right? And then John Carmack wrote an article saying that he thinks, he should be going in a different direction because everybody's going ChatGPT, large language model direction, and he's like, that possibly could be a dead end. So let's go a different direction.
To give some context to that, because years ago he quit Meta. He was like trying to focus, like, what's the main focus? He said AI way before everyone start really jumping onto that. And now what you're saying is that he's changing his mind because everybody's jumping on AI, and it's not.
Well, though, he's still doing AI.
He's still AI.
He's doing a different branch, right? He's trying to get to actual general intelligence, right? Because like as much as
Skynet.
we think ChatGPT is like smart, right? It's just sounds smart.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's not really thinking. It's regurgitating
known information.
Right. Yeah. Right. It's not really thinking. And it's also hallucinating and errors and mistakes, et cetera. Right. So it's not really fully there. But what we have seen is pretty impressive and has utility.
Yeah.
And then therefore the investors are all hot and bothered, right? Because Microsoft is like, hey, here, have $10 billion, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so all the investors are hot and bothered. And so therefore to get the investors' attention in a time of hard to come by money.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, oh, I'm doing AI too, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh, did you know?
It's the buzzword.
Did you know we doing AI too, right? Yeah. Did you know we're doing generative stuff? Did you know? Like, right. And it's like, well, you were taking your time and you were like slowly, you were thinking about the ethics of it, and you're developing these things. You had a huge team of researchers publishing papers, right? But then now that the investors
commercialized,
it's like, okay, what features are we doing with this general intelligence? Like, let's talk about it now, right? And there's a rush to talk about it, just to get the investors' attention, and that's what's annoying. And it has created a bubble. Like we are in a generative AI bubble. It doesn't mean that when the bubble bursts, there won't be some actual valid technology at the end of it, but there will be companies that will be dead.
Oh yeah, dude. So many AI tool ads coming out of nowhere.
Yeah. It's it is crazy. And the thing is, a lot of this tech, has been around for a while, right? And then
rebranded
because there's no money in it at the time. It's like, oh, it gets deprioritized, or you don't put as much people on it. But now that the investors are like, what is your AI strategy?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we have a team of 20, 30 people doing AI now. Right? You know what I mean? It's just a lot of followers.
Right.
And there's some folks out ahead that were innovating. And then a lot of people are following. Yeah. Right. And is the metaverse dead? No. I don't like your boy Tim Sweeney doesn't think so, right?
I think Tim Sweeney is the only one who's secretly building a metaverse.
and he's like, look, like, like Fortnite, I could talk to people, we could commune, we're having live events in here. This is kind of a metaverse, right? But it's not the metaverse at the scale that people are talking about. Because again, it was a bubble, it was a hype thing, right? Where it's like, it'll take 10, 15 years, 20 years to get to like the scale that people are talking about if you actually focus on it.
Yeah.
But everybody's like, oh, I'm not there yet. It's 2 months later. We're not there yet. And AI is the new hotness now.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. NFT, because the metaverse is all really a lot of what was driving the metaverse is NFTs, right? And now the market, speculative cash, all that nonsense has died pretty much. Oh, NFTs aren't worth anything anymore, right? Oh, metaverse is dead now because I can't sell fictitious nonsense on the internet, right? So therefore it's dead. No, the thing that you attached to it was dumb, right?
Yeah.
And so that's really what people have to like look through that, right? And of course, tech is just like growth beyond all things. We need the money.
Yeah.
What thing will get the investors interested, especially at a time like now where it's hard financial times, right?
Yeah.
AI.
Yeah. Right? Well, this is I completely agree with you. We go each year has kind of like a buzzword for investors where if you're not saying AI this year, you're not getting any money. And the market moves in that way. It has always moved that way financially, right?
Right.
So there's a lot of people it's just saying, oh, AI is another bubble, which you said, but to an extent, right? There are actual transformative technology being built by people with the right mindset and goals. But obviously there's a lot of people with fool's gold being marketed to people in the last 6 months. As soon as ChatGPT, everyone suddenly knows AI. It's like everyone suddenly has a solution, right?
And again,
it's so obvious.
There's been some like the rate of things coming out is crazy.
It's an insane rate. I've never seen anything like it either.
I've never seen anything this fast but a lot of the things is like I put a UI on top of something that you could use if you're a programmer
Yeah.
I put a UI on top of it, made it easier to use.
Yeah.
And so like it looks like it's like this big impressive thing, but it's like something you can slap together really, really quickly, right?
That's exactly what happened. Yeah.
Right. But no, but like so like the rate of things that are coming out is crazy. And yeah, and I think there's like actual useful things. I think Midjourney is super useful, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think like the being able to describe something and then get an image based off of that is useful.
Cool. Yeah.
You know, and I do think artists out there that are sweating and worrying about their profession and how will they adapt and all that, they should be, right?
Yeah. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, you agree.
And I think I think some programmers out there are also kind of sweating, but are like happy for now because like the code that stuff generates is not 100% that great. But who knows, right? Maybe it will be good enough or a good starting point to accelerate people's productivity, right? So there's some usefulness there, right? With accelerating people's productivity. I don't know if it replaces people directly, you know, because like it lacks the soul and the heart sometimes that comes with creative things, right?
Yeah, that's a couple of cold lines away. Don't worry. Yeah, I mean, we had Adnan on for a couple of episodes ago talking about AI specifically. He's with you. I mean, everyone I talked to that isn't an artist, pretty much said, yeah, dude, it's like 60% of artist jobs are going to be gone. Just get ready, poof, right? Yeah. Students definitely have a crisis, you know, as they're kind of going through learning how to draw. It's like you need to rethink, you know, how much time you want to learn how to draw into how versus how much time you want to put into an end product, you know.
Here's the thing about that, right? It's the same thing with programmers. Like you know, you could be like, hey, just learn how to use Unity or learn how to use Unreal, right? You don't need to know what a linked list is. You don't need to know what memory management is. Just go and learn this thing, make a video game, and you're good. And a lot of people have done that. And a lot of people are really bad programmers, and they cobble together something and they make hit games.
You want to name names or
no? Like, but they make hit games, and it's fine, right?
It's fine.
But if you care about the craft, then you should also care about the foundations that build that craft. Right. And so if you really care about it, then you should learn those things so that you have a solid foundation, right? That all the other things I said on top, you know how it works, right? Fundamentally.
Just get rich first.
So I believe
build a successful product and then learn how to build it correctly the second time is always better. I believe
in the foundations. I believe in foundations, and I think the same thing applies for art, right? Like
I believe in foundations too. Like
the foundations matter, and then you can learn how to be an expert prompt writer.
I'm there with you, man. I'm there with you because prompts don't write themselves, so you got to think.
Because trust me, I made a bunch of prompts, and the images came out. Those images are trash, and then
bad prompter. That's all I gotta say.
And then folks I know that are artists, trained artists, art directors with eyes, right? They do their little thing, and they're creating gorgeous images, right? Because they have the foundation still, right? It does not replace the skill.
Right. There's a hack. There's a hack around making great prompts, and it's called ChatGPT. And ChatGPT is way smarter than any art director that you know, right? Be descriptive. Describe it like this movie, all right? Put it in a prompt and then feed it to MJ.
I saw somebody actually do it step by step. Telling chat how to tell ChatGPT to generate the prompts for Midjourney.
That's what I do.
And the results, like the results are great. Like I'm
phenomenal.
I'm not even fronting, right? But even the art of figuring out the combination of things to generate the prompt, to what to tell ChatGPT to generate. Right. It's something that I would not be able to do very well, right?
Well, I mean, it's you know, that's why you wait a little for the people to publish that, and then you copy how they prompt.
And then I just copy the prompt.
Like, that's exactly what I want. Like the thing is like, as an artist, and I'm speaking from an artist perspective of like, your job is useless if you don't get on the program. Right? That's why I do podcasts. I talk about it. But I'm telling people like, at the end of the day, you're making a piece of entertainment, right? It's about the end product, right? How you get there, how messy you get there. Yes, it'll be great to kind of go there and give you an extra edge.
There's skill in this world. Do not discount skill.
No, there's definitely a skill, but there's skill into selling a product that is fun and people get it. Like you said, there's a bunch of Unity successful hit games that are poor programmers and they got there anyways. I respect that more than someone who sits in a corner and just becomes the best programmer in the world, but never really contributes anything into the world, right? That's a starving artist.
Being the best programmer in the world, you could be contributing all sorts of things.
No, you're in the corner. No one knows you. At the end of the day, you have to put something out in the world to get judged, right?
Yeah.
If you're doing something for entertainment, if you're just like a wizard who wants to like die under an anonymous name or whatever, fine, do your thing. But a starving artist is not that sexy, man. It's like everyone has a story to tell, right? At least until ChatGPT has a storytelling, which it does, right? To a great extent. I think, what is your contribution, right? And then work backwards from that. What do I need to know to get there the fastest way possible? Because, the fans want it that way, right? The fastest way, a quality product, the fastest way possible. And investors want it that way. Those are the two people that you're serving at the end of the day. So it only hurts you to kind of sit there. Yeah. Hey man, you would say the same thing if a student is like learning on the draw right now and it takes them 5 years to learn just as good as basically a prompt. And it's like, dude, don't do that. Like, what is it that you want to do? Do you want to make a comic book? Do you want to, where do you want to be? You can't be a very sharpened pencil.
No, I'll say this. I said it already. Like, yeah. I think like folks that understand the fundamentals in a lot of areas.
Oh yeah,
it's dying, right? Yeah. And there will come a point in time where we will still need to fall back on those things, right? And if that art is dying, then where are you, right? Well, like I said, learning how to use Unity and Unreal. Yeah, Unity and Unreal. Yeah. There's people that work there that understand this foundational things, right? When they're all dead and gone, who's
left to teach?
Yeah, who's going to continue Unreal and Unity running, right? You know what I mean?
Well, hopefully GPT is going to be around.
Yeah. Like, what is it?
GitHub librarian.
GitHub Copilot will just write the code on that.
Yeah. Right? Like, tell me the old ways of making games. Read me a bedtime story. It's like that's satisfying, right? All right, now I got to actually make something.
Yeah, I think I said it before. Like, this stuff is like a dying art.
It is,
but. Like, I understand where you're coming from. You're like, yo, make products.
I just look at the future, man, which is China.
Get that bread. Get that.
What is China doing? What is China doing?
Dude, but
China.
The foundations matter.
They do matter, but look at China, man. Like they don't care about shit, right? And so like basically they went and fired all their artists in their little sweatshop store and then are using master prompters. They're using one person replacing 10. I mean, the industry that we use to outsource is already doing that, right?
Yeah.
So like that's a really big part of the industry right there. Our outsourcing companies
but sometimes this
are finding shortcuts.
At least right now people are doing this, right? Like, it's so obvious.
Yeah.
And so like if you just like generate like, here's the thing, if you just generate it and throw it over the fence and say, I'm done my job.
Yeah.
You haven't done your job.
Exactly.
Right. Like using it as a starting point and painting over and embellishing and making it get that soul that it's from the hand of an artist, that makes way more sense to me. But if you're just taking some bogus thing and like, yeah, it looks kind of right, and then throw it over the fence and thinking people won't notice it's AI generated or it's good enough, right? Like, we'll just end up with a lot of soulless stuff. And that's fine. Some people just want to do that, just create stuff like that. And there will always be space for somebody who's like, yeah, I want to put my own stamp on it and my style on it.
Yeah.
There always will be space for that. right?
Yeah.
Maybe it's not what will make all of the money or what will make all the investors happy or whatever. But there will always be space for that, I think.
Yeah, you and your buddies will die by the sword of the ancient traditional.
I'm not saying it's a whole lot of space, but there'd be some space for that.
Yeah. Here's the thing, man. If the man with the money is cool with it, and the fans of the product is basically don't even know the difference, and it's an artist, what do you call it, ethics problem. And how does ethics ever play, into game development, right? I mean, we're kind of hearing it sometimes, like, oh, we got these game developers finish their game forever, right? But it never really moved how we make games. I mean, crunch culture was a thing a bit, but like right now, I feel like most companies are still crunching, especially with remote, right? Mm-hmm. And delayed games from 2020. And AI seems like a solution to that. Like, to me, like you said, it's a productive. It's a boost. It's a booster.
I don't think it's going to replace crunch and all those things. You're just going to get more. You just have more content.
Yes,
the desire for content is never insatiable, right? Yeah. It'll just keep going forever and ever. Always, I want more rocks, more detail. I want it to look real, more and more. It's always more, right? So, yeah. But sometimes you just have to say, no, I don't want to do more. I just want to do something that looks nice.
I think that's an indie. There's definitely like the indie teams are boxed in. They kind of get where they need to be and just put it out there. Yeah, but the big companies were always, like you said, it's the AAA companies that are always not learning from their past mistakes. Right. Like you said, 8 years ago, we were talking about procedural generation. We're talking about all these amazing tools, and the outlook of it was that these game cycles will be shorter. But here we are again. It's kind of more expected that day one patching is a thing. Bugs and glitches is kind of like the norm, right? And it's foolish, like how we started this podcast episode, that Redfall was going to be perfect day one, which was normal back then. It was expected that the PS2 days, the PS3 day, anything less than perfect is basically a scam, right? So in what you're saying, I agree that we've gotten more in this direction where the game is never ready day one. And we have more tools, bigger budgets, right? More people than ever before. Yeah. And you're right in that respect. Like every time I'm talking about AI or these new tools helping game developers, I'm more thinking about the smaller teams, because I mean the innovation comes from the smaller teams, which I'm excited about, right? All the trends and stuff usually come from the smaller teams, and the big guys just make that, popularize it and make 100 times more money from it, right? But I don't care about the big guys as much. Obviously there's a balance. It's like a Jedi dark Sith thing, right? There's a balance of power that always needs to be there. At least Sony's doing well. And you have Hideo Kojima once in a while, shipping a game 3 years, right?
But I would be surprised if like he's doing some AI nonsense.
Oh yeah,
Kojima projections too. Like I would be surprised in this.
At least in the story time, in the narrative. Yeah. But man, like all these tech things that are happening, I agree with you. Or sneakily, the only one that's really doing metaverse correctly is Unreal or Epic with Fortnite. They came out with Fortnite creators or Fortnite for Unreal.
Yeah.
And that's basically building the building blocks of a metaverse correctly and making tons of dough while doing it. Unlike Facebook, right, where they're just pouring 10 billion. Fortnite's making $10 billion a year, or not 10 billion, a few $1 billion a year. And then
at one point it was 9.
It was 9, right? And then Meta is spending that much to make Horizon, right? And it's not going well. I do want to kind of, maybe you can't comment on this. Supposedly AR for Apple is coming out at the end of the year, right? And they're going to do what they're supposed to do. I'll be surprised even slightly. I know they come out with tech and everyone always jumps on it. It's going to be a hard sell unless they somehow make it sexy, which is their thing.
Apple always finds how to make something sexy, right? You know, I would never count them out in anything, you know, right? Sometimes they flopped things, right? Yeah. But I would never count.
They have more success. They're basically the opposite of Google. They have more wins than losses.
Yeah.
So what do you think that's going to reinvigorate this or actually introduce AR VR to a bunch of people or no?
No idea.
Because an accessory, it's always hard to sell, right?
No, I still think to grow AR VR really huge, you need something that
compelling
wear and is compelling to wear and it looks good and is lightweight. They don't look like a nerd, right? So I think there's a lot of.
It's the language thing, right? Isn't it?
Yeah.
The babble from Hitchhiker's Guide. I mean, that's got to be the thing that sells it to people. Because if AR Apple comes up with that and I can instantly talk to someone in a different language.
Oh yeah.
Wouldn't Google that be the thing?
Google kind of has that with their earbuds, right? So
it doesn't work. It doesn't
work. But yeah, definitely like something like that would be
like a subtitle.
Game changing. Yeah.
The problem with the Google one is because it's audio, and so you got to wait for the delay. And even then, when it does work, it's like it's not working perfectly. But with AR glasses, just seeing the transcription or the subtitles, just like you're watching a movie, it doesn't ruin the flow of the conversation.
I still think like when it comes to VR, XR, all those things, I still think AR is where it's at. Like a lot of the VR devices are doing like, you know, pass through and things like that, right? So because they realize that, now you can't close somebody off from the real world. You have to integrate into the real world. That's what makes it more compelling. So So I still stick with like AR is the thing, and it's just a matter of like, okay, now how do we deliver it to the masses? Right.
I think that's it, man.
Right now it's niche, right? So.
Super niche. Like that, you said it many times before. It's just lacking that killer app. I think it's the language thing. Like Google has that IR lens that you can go around and it just like automatically.
Friend of mine created that actually.
Yeah, it translates the signage of stuff. Really cool, right? Yeah. But you know, it's not mainstream because Google sucks at marketing their own stuff. But I can see Apple doing stuff like that, you know, have practical use of subtitle language, talking to people, and then like the sign stuff, reintroduce it in a very clear, concise, practical way in terms of marketing, and it's going to sell. And then once that gateway is open, people have a bunch of these devices, they're naturally going to explore, just like how the iPhone did it, right? With games, they're going to look for things to do with it. And it's going to open up this whole market, which was, you know, which sucks because which is great, but it sucks for Facebook because they lack the vision. It felt like in a lot of ways.
Sure. Yeah. That's why Apple's Apple. But also some people think Apple has lost its vision, right? So, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Yeah, I have no idea.
Supposedly Tim Cook, this is his baby. This is his iPhone. So
yep.
Yeah. Well, I mean the industry is interesting. There's a lot of buzzwords going around. The AI thing, I haven't talked to you at length. You know, I kind of feel I understand your opinion being a programmer and all. And you're kind of old school, so you like the traditional way and you appreciate all the developers out there and stuff like that. I'm there too, but at the same time, it's just like I'm just seeing, you know, the white flag waving. Like, you know, obviously I'm networked with all these friends that are complaining who are concept artists like, yeah, man, we don't want to do this. Let's go on a strike. But it's like, dude, this is not how you do it.
I think it's weird. Like, I think the people that don't want anything to do with it are weird.
Yeah.
Right. And then also I think the people that are like, this is life changing. This is like, I think I heard this is as big as the internet. Right. I'm like,
is that too far?
No. Yeah. I think that is hyperbole. Right.
Oh.
So yeah, I think you have to be somewhere in between of with some cautious optimism. Some like clearly,
this is helpful.
I see how it can increase productivity. I see how it can make menial tasks better.
Yeah.
Right. Like as big as the internet, though, I think you're tripping. Right? So, but maybe I'm wrong. But I don't think so.
No, I'm there with you. Definitely this year is kind of like the NFT thing. It's everything. It will die down. There's a lot of tools that are going to be bust real soon. Basically nothing, no substance. And then eventually, I do think there's a lasting impact to the creative industry. Like you said, I never seen anything catch fire so quickly. Like with NFT, there was a lot of pause, right, from people trying to understand it. It was confusing. I think it was designed that way, right? It's like, do you know what this is? It's like, it was hard for me to explain, right? But with AI, it's like
dumb.
It was dumb, right?
AI is way easier to explain.
Way easier to explain, and it's very practical. I can go on to Bing AI and use it.
Yeah.
And it'll be, I can see the usefulness. It's very quick.
Yeah.
Creatively, I think is already having a lasting impact. I mean, you have college kids already questioning if I should continue on their own, right? It's like, it's not like they had a person like me telling them it's doomsday, right? They're arriving at these conclusions themselves.
Yeah.
And you can see the results. And basically, what do I do? As companies are growing, they're actually probably have to change the rules and just, we can't license, we will use or not use. Blizzard is already publicly announcing that they're going to use AI to train on their own art to kind of help with the production, right?
I mean, Stardock just released Galactic Civilizations 4 Supernova.
Yeah,
and it has a feature in there called Alien GPT, which it's create your custom alien.
Nice.
You do a description, and then it'll show you images, right? And it was all trained on their own their past alien designs.
Yeah,
right?
That's cool.
And so it's like in that case, it's their own art.
Yeah,
and they're training it, and they're giving some value to users to generate interesting images for their.
Well, here's the thing: people are still mad at that. How do you feel about that? Because Blizzard is doing that.
I think it'd be silly to be mad at that.
Well, with the Blizzard thing, people completely went like, "Oh, this is the end of Blizzard. Oh, good, you were good." But it's like, dude, they're using their own art. Like, I thought it was a licensing ethics problem.
Well, it gets around that problem, but it still has a problem of like.
What about the people that you hire?
Y'all need to get out now. Thank you. Right? There's the prospect of people losing their jobs still. But then that you can never stop that, right? Automation has reduced the number of people's jobs
forever. Yeah.
And it's going to keep happening. And so it's just a matter of like, how do you adapt to the new situation, right? But people are right to be upset about that. Like, you could be upset about it, but then now you have to be like, okay, what do I do now then? Right.
Well, it's relative to the writer's strike. I know it's more a Hollywood thing that's happening right now.
Mm-hmm.
But what a perfect opportunity to try chat.
No, but the writer stuff is even more messed up, right? Because they see it a mile away that the studios are going to be like, I'm going to
utilizing
GPT this entire script, and it's going to be gibberish, and I'm going to give it to a writer to
edit it down. Yeah.
And that's just a miserable existence, right? Like that's not what's up, you know? And so, yeah, they're going to fight for that, you know, be like, no, like we still need to write this stuff. Like, let me decide to use ChatGPT. don't you use ChatGPT?
It's so dumb.
Give it to me, right?
It's so dumb, right? But like the only industry that is able to kind of fight this is the music industry because they've been primed.
Oh, I don't even know. Have you heard all the AI?
I heard. Yeah, but they took it down immediately.
No, it's still up. It is still up.
But as soon as
he's not making any money from it, he's not trying to sell it or anything, right? I'm gonna check right now.
They've been striking it down. The likeness of it, like it's like they're equating it to like identity theft. You know, the music industry is better equipped to tackle these things since Napster. They have, I feel like, instruments and tools in place to kind of like jump at things faster than any other industry, especially ours. So I feel like music wise, because, you know, there are obviously AI generative. I know of some that got shut down immediately when they were trying to sample all these licensed music and to create basically, you know, good pop music, right? Shut down immediately. Like you don't hear anything about music. Even though that's like the easiest thing to could do right now because they're all kind of it's 7 notes, right? Yeah.
Well, some of this AI Drake stuff is still up, but no, actually, I kind of respect the AI music stuff because it's at least I believe how
entertaining
it is still. Well, somebody's writing it, right? Somebody's actually writing the raps and going, okay, let me now feed this through the algorithms to make
voice synthesizer,
make it sound like Drake and time it correctly, you know. So like some of the actual content is still pretty fire. But it also, I think it also shows like maybe Drake's music is pretty formulaic and
all popular music are formulaic and soulless. That's why it's like a great AI sample of what we can do.
Replace all pop music with just
AI. But like they are better equipped to kind of fight against it because they know how to do it. Right? They'll strike it down. I don't think it will go as haywire as all these other industry. Right? There's no fighting chance that concept artists will band together and ban AI. None. With music though, they'll get it done, right? Is what I'm saying. I think it will go along the rap of deep fakes, you know, for movies. They just hired the guy. ILM just fired the guy. It's like, oh, you do this really well. We hire you, right? So I think Drake is going to hire that guy. I don't want to come up with things. They're going to utilize it as a tool. It's like, instead of me trying to come up with like a room full of writers, it's like, I just hire the nerd, generate something that I sound good in, and I'll just rap over that. You know, they'll use it as a tool, and I'll make millions. You know, that's definitely why they're stopping, because they're business wise, they're trying to make it legal. You know, and like Drake is not mad at it. He's like, I can use this. He's smart enough. All of them are thinking that. It's like, how do I hire that? Because that's the future. I got to stop this now. It's the same thing with Elon Musk. It's like, let's pause for 6 months. And then he went off to make his own AI company. It's like all of them are thinking like that. Yeah. That's the smart way to do it. Right. They know it's coming. There's going to be endless amount of AI synthesizer rapping, but they can stop the bleeding and license it, own it, right? Because I think there is something that you can license your own voice or your likeness. I mean, there's literally companies that go up to celebrities like, let me license your likeness for AI, and they license it. And so now when you're doing YouTube stuff, you're kind of what do you call it? Violating their licensing rights to AI likeness. So I know that's happening. Okay. So yeah, we don't have any of that, dude. Norman Rockwell estate It's not coming after Mid-Journey. All right, there's no artists suck, man. We suck. We're always in solitude. There's no union or anything of any threat. That's why we always.
That seems to be slowly changing in the video game. It's like slowly every day or maybe every month, I hear about some new union.
It's too slow. It's too slow.
But it's
Skynet will be here by then. By the time that we have some power, we'll be in the Matrix. Yeah. And then we'll live in our fantasy world of, oh, we actually have power to do any of this stuff. But anyways, that sums up an hour, man. All right, man. There was a lot of topics we went over. Obviously, I just want to catch up and get your thoughts on it. I'm sure there's a lot more, you know, Microsoft or Bethesda or EA is going to release a game sometime, so we'll be able to kind of.
As much as I hate on Bethesda, I'm probably buying Starfield. Yeah, so we'll see.
I haven't really seen any promotions for that. Is it starting to look like?
No, okay. They showed something, and I was like, I don't know. But
does it look better than Star Citizen?
But also some people. Well, yeah, it actually exists. But no, but people saw what they did show, and some like hardcore Bethesda folks were like going crazy, right? So yeah, we'll see, man.
So is that the biggest game this year, Starfield?
I think
it's
so.
It's like 10 years in the making, right?
In terms of expectation and hype, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Why? I hope
for me it's Street Fighter, but you know, yeah. It is what it is.
Oh, I hope it goes well.
Yeah.
You don't want it. Anything that ends up in the roundtable never is a good thing. I realize we never really celebrate, you know, the positive. It's always me. Well, you always defend, you know, you're more optimistic than I am, man. Yeah. But hey, man,
I was kind of hating on AI this time, but anyway, yeah.
No, I think you had like probably the safest, most realistic stance on it. We've obviously, I mean, I tried to bring people on. It's the biggest topic to talk about, and it was pretty extreme. One extreme is like I'm all for it, and the other extreme is like I'm all against it. But I think you're the only one that I've talked to that's actually realistically in the middle, which is where I am. You know, I'm using it. It feels like an assistant. It helps me, you know, get through the day. In very practical ways, and I think everyone should do it. I mean, it's free on Bing if you don't want to use ChatGPT.
Especially when you're scrubby like yourself and you need that help. Like it really helps a lot. Like
it helps polish me.
Yeah, I feel you
to be presentable on the internet. Yeah. Hey man, I'm all about getting help, dude. Yeah.
All right, man.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us for a round table. See you guys sometime in the future. Lates.